Basically, one expression of sort of quote unquote getting it, well, you just start laughing uncontrollably because it's fucking hilarious, really. And one of the beautiful qualities, there are many, but when something of this nature dawns on you, it reveals all the other falsities had never actually happened. That's such a beautiful solution because the problem doesn't exist for you, and it didn't exist for you, and it will not exist for you. It covers every base all at once. And not once meaning it took time, it's just, it comes with the package. When you seemingly finally come to, that's how you come to as, is that which denies anything ever really happened here. Not in a mental way to sort of avoid it or disengage or have like a fake denial. It's a very clear, unbelievably like a lightning bolt of nothing's ever happened. Even though there's tons of happenings, nothing's ever happened. Nothing has ever come to pass because everything is just passing. It's a rising and going. Everything is an activity. There's an activity that, no activity becomes an event. It doesn't become something that happened. It's just happening. Happening. The mental state tries to put a beginning and end on it and snip it, and then edit the film, which is more like a mural, and then edit the film to be about you, to emphasize, and so in its editing, it cuts a whole lot out, which is, it's sort of like taking that glass of water out of the river, and you take it home, and you think you've captured the river, but you've lost the essence of it, which is rivering, You've lost the movement of the water. So now you have a life, the mental state doctors it, edits it up, and forgets all these wonders and awes and its own absence. It just cuts those out. It like redacts a lot of shit, and then it has a story, and you live as if you were that, and as if you will be that. Because you can't live as it right now. You live as it was and as it will be. In other words, the feeling of Paul that seemingly arises when I wake up is a memory. It's a memory that's like a match that starts to fucking fuse that never leads to an explosion. It's just a fucking fuse. And then you go to bed, everything's put out because it was never lit, and then suddenly you wake up as Tommy or Paul, and then there's the lighting of it, and then, you know what I mean? You can't even get into that much trouble in a sense because you're probably gonna fall asleep every day, and there's gonna be this giant interlude, which the head has absolutely no way to cover. It's just like its absence is just screaming at us that there was no Paul in the deepest of sleep. I mean, its own presence is null and voided every day, every night. And is there any guarantee you're going to wake up the next morning? Is it like a written contract? I got 859 more mornings coming my way. I mean, I can rest assured because I'm not fucking going to sleep if I think I could pass away. Fuck, I'm going to stay up all night and watch fucking terrible movies and keep an eye on myself. I don't want myself to go out if it's never coming back. But no, we just go to sleep. We give so freely. We give ourselves so freely to it. Oblivion, yet we're scared shit here. We're scared shit to let go of the trail, like the figment of connection to the memory, and then really it's basically all memory because we're in a loop of rehashing, refeeling, rethinking. Like in recovery, we concentrate on one which is resentment. Because it has it's the biggest killer of alcoholics and addicts, resentment, feeling like you've been done wrong and then re-feeling it over and over again in life, through your fucking biased perception. You'll see threats where there aren't any threats, and you'll connect dots that there's no connection to. You know what I mean? And you're blatantly wrong most of the time. You're thinking that guy's Superman at me. He hasn't thought about you the whole fucking day. But you would guarantee that you're right about it. Then you, oh, hey Bill, have you? No, fuck, who is he? I don't even know. I haven't even met this guy. Yeah. So you see. I mean, it's just obviously revealing. So you're re-feeling things, all things. You're re-seeing, you're re-hearing, because you're basically, like the Course in Miracles would say, you see only the past, and the past, there's no past. So you're basically seeing nothing all day, over and over and over again. And then the mental state fills it up, right, with a story. And then we agree to it, and then we live as if it's so. Yet every night we get an incredible vacation from it. I don't think we could take it. You know? To me, 10 days of this place without sleeping would be a fucking spiritual retreat. You'd have to break down fucking sooner or later. Can you imagine? Eating 3 great meals a day, but up all day, and just seeing you being produced all fucking day without any way of turning a channel or watching something or jumping off of something or shooting something or drinking something or fornicating with something. It would be fucking unbelievable. Just to be with this, be with the selfing, you know, without any drive to stop. You wouldn't be able to seek. All your seeking would be muted because you lets me be tied and you'd be up all day. You fucking, you just surrender. You please. You know, there would be an immediate, it would make total sense. But what happens is the seeking is sort of like a way of just opening the valve and letting a little of it out, you know, constantly, you know. I'm going to have that, when I order that latte, I'm going to have that brownie. You know, I'm going to get 2 of them. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get a little, I'm going to get a half a gallon of Haagen-Dazs. I want a sense of security in my freezer. You know what I mean? You know? I got to make sure, before I go anywhere, I got to make sure my subscription at Netflix is valid. I cannot possibly go out and have to come home without anything on. What would promote so much anxiety? What we are? What we are, would that promote so much anxiety? How could, if a big, huge bug came in this room right now and landed on any one of us, there wouldn't be any thought about it. There'd be immediately reaction to knock it off. I don't care if it was 50 times, 800 times the same, you'd be knocking that fucker off. What happens when something we can't see, we can't give name to, and we've given name to it, we call it us, yeah? Basically takes us over. How does it neuter that reaction that you would throw off that fucking foreign installment, knowing full well if you lived under it for 10 minutes that it was hostile and not healthy for you? What would allow it to find a home? Yeah. It's got to have a strategy. To me, the strategy, it convinces the host or the opportunity or the big mind that it's the mind. Yeah? So that the parasite has full sway in our lives, because every time it enters any topic of our lives, we call it me. How would, you wouldn't take what you dish out to yourself from any fucking stranger. Look at wives and husbands. If a wife treated you like you treat you, you'd be divorced in the first month. But we're in this 50-year relationship. It doesn't dawn us we can be freed from it because we're identified as it. The concept of self has become the self to us. And it becoming the self, what we truly are has to be forgotten. It cannot be completely forgotten because we're it, but it can seem to be forgotten. Why do you believe there's so much mental activity? I mean, really, maybe you made a mistake 30 years ago. Does it need like 400 investigations? 30 years after the fucking crime? You know, why would it be a constant forensic unit was being sent out all day to go over everything you did or didn't do to find who's going to be guilty in it all? You. And in the guiltiness, it has an ability to thrive as you. It just thrives as us. It loves it. It gets a chance to express itself. It can make up a fucking mess, and it's never going to get called to the principal's office. It can shit all over yourself, and you'll blame you. I mean, you don't call the police and say, this is Paul Hedderman. Paul Hedderman needs to be arrested. No, it doesn't usually work that way. But that's what it's like. We're identified as the burglar. How are we going to fucking call the cops on it? It's the burglar's calling the cops. And when the cop shows up, it's also the burglar. The thought system, I'm serious, you're not going to get out of it. You're going to hear it, yeah? Because we're conscious. I'm humbly sharing with you how I found lasting relief from it was not having no thoughts or not having only good thoughts, like, you know, sort of like a beef that gets, all right, AAA beef, you know, none of that. It was, I lost interest in the thoughts because they were finally seen not to be about me. They were about a me, but not me. And as soon as that became clear, a whole tons of possibilities arose that were already always pregnantly available, but because of some insane idea in place, I was forbidden in a way to notice them. I was trying to be free as what I'm not, instead of free from what I'm not. It's as simple as that. Yeah? And the bondage isn't an event, it's an activity. And it's using activities, yeah? It's using activities to produce what we think is an event, and what we think is an event is us. It's Paul. But it's all activity that produces it, yeah? If you see that it can only reach a level of seemingly so, there's someone or something or no thing that has to be convinced of it for it to seem to be so. It cannot be so on its own. It's limited to the idea that it's not true. You can't get out of that, yeah? But it can seem to be true to what is true, which is who? It's got to be close to the vicinity of what you're calling you. I mean, and there's tons of evidence all day. The worst possible thing that ever happened to you suddenly is looked down and seen as the best thing that ever happened to you. Those must take their clues, you know? Or you're sitting there and you're at a group and people are bitching about their thoughts and you're like, whoa, this sort of sounds just like my thoughts. Yeah. Now, what would that mean if people had my thoughts? That would exclude them from being mine. It would be more public domain. It would be ours. Yeah. And I'll tell you, thoughts that are ours and not mine are much easier lived with than the mine. Yeah. If you can see them as not you, if a little idea that they're not you triggers an image in this little mind, yeah, because it works much more on images than language. If there can be a triggering that it's a foreign installment or a parasitical movement or like a fucking space helmet we all were given, yeah, then as soon as you entertain that, the next possibility, hey, I can take it off. Instead of trying to get new visors for it, getting a better stereo system, getting better wipers, whatever, constantly working on it to improve something that's a failed system. Yeah. But what inhibits us from entertaining it as such? What's causing us not to see the foreignness of it? It's called the act of being identified as it. So All these activities, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, thinking, all this stuff, all these activities are being used by the mental state to imply the one who's active, the one who's doing, the one who's feeling, the one who's tasting, the one who's thinking, all of it, yeah, all of it. It's using an activity, yeah, to produce a sense of a something. So it's using verbs to imply a noun, yeah. Once the noun is in place, then all verbing now is given direction from the noun's point of view. I fucking did it, or you fucking did it to me. Yeah? And yet we're all following the same thoughts. We have the English version, sort of the box comes in, they ask you a question. Which English? All right, we all have the English version, so the thoughts sound like here, and Billy, and Tom, and Sue, and jumping and running and stuff like that. It's playing in all of our little theaters, yeah? And yet every one of us sitting there, we're all watching the same fucking film, exactly almost in a way. But what happens is all the verbs are placed in different time slots, yeah? All the verbing is placed in different time slots, and then there's a strategically placing of nouns. So, you had trouble in your first relationship, that was with Sue. Then you have trouble in your second relationship, that was with Mary. Then you have trouble in your 15th relationship, that was Victoria. You don't see the one constant in all the failed relationships were you. And you think the relationship with Sue is different because the next one was with Victoria. But it's the same. It's just a placement of nouns in different time slots to make up a huge story. But basically it's just a rehashing. It's a redoing, a re-feeling, a receiving, a re-seeing, a re-having, a re-losing. That's all it is. I mean, we don't even actually have to get up. Really, you could just subscribe. Can you send Paul Hedderman's script over to 407 Shoreline? I think I'll just rather read it today. It's basically the same script, and with different nouns sprinkled in, with the one concurring noun, which is Paul. And no one's going to buy the newsletter about Paul, except they want to be right about their experience with Paul, like an ex-girlfriend, or Paul himself. Yeah? Because the whole thing is fueled by interest. It's not fueled by production. It's not written well. It's not really even staged that well. Yeah? It's all because of interest. And why is the interest beholden to it? Is because you believe all of it is is factual to you. Do you want to try to change all of that, or just have the one constant in all of it, which is you? If you see you're not that, the seeing of you're not that affects everything else. That's how you know you're onto something. See, it's not about putting all the fires out, it's checking out the fire starter, which is us. You'll know the problem from the solution. And the problem is an activity, and so's the solution. You're looking for a noun to have the solution, but the solution isn't a noun. It's being. It's not a being. That would be a noun. It's being. And it's also non-being. And it's also the negation of both of those. It's the farthest fucking thing from a noun. That's why we're not understanding anything, because we're trying to frame it as a noun. I'm understanding something, but I is the misunderstanding, which lends its misunderstanding to every freaking thing else. You want to correct all your misunderstandings. The biggest one is the one that thinks it's understanding. That's the correction that never gets corrected. When that's corrected, everything else gets affected. You realized it. You realize the strategic location of the domino, because all the other dominoes fall. You know the quote-unquote problem from the solution. That's the only way you really know anything here, is by its absence. You know, let's say you're irritable, restless, discontent. Suddenly you're not. And then so from that not being irritable, restless, discontent, you now see why you seem to have been irritable, restless, or discontent. You recognize it by its absence. You go, oh, that's why this didn't seem available. But when this becomes available, it negates all of the facts of the other. As soon as it dawns on you, it's never not been this way. It's never not been clear. I mean, the problem does not exist for you. And it's even farther, it doesn't exist as you. Yeah. That's a solution. That's a solution that doesn't have to be re-upped. There's no vigilance about it. Like the Course says, it's not about sacrifice or loss. You're not giving up anything valuable to know what you are. It's just your value system is fucking screwy. The old story about the people on the boat and the guy's drowning, and the guys, they want to throw him a lifesaver, but he won't let go of the lead stone he's got because he thinks it's valuable. He's not willing to give it up, and that's sinking him. Yeah? It's just like the snake and the skin. The skin is like Armageddon when the molting season arises. But the snake, it's hallelujah. Yeah? Both views are being presented. One's always presented, so it's not so noticeable. The other one's got the megaphone, and it constantly yells and screams all fucking day. See, as a noun, you're not going to recognize the activities that are implying the noun. When you see the activities as an activity, as being, as awareness, as consciousness, there's no doing involved in it. That's what we are. And we're are-ing, yeah? It's not a dead idea. I wasn't being in the past, nor am I hoping that I will be being in the future. It's now, yes? Incessantly on. From that activity, you see other activities. And then you see there is no noun to be found anywhere. It's an activity that implies through activity that there's a someone. That's all it is. There's no need to be free from the bondage of self. There's never been a bondage of self without your compliance. You don't send out the fucking crusades to kill the self, fucking vanquish it or bring it to court. There's no one there. It's an activity. It's you, basically. You masquerading as a noun. And then seeing everything is about you. This body is not equipped to be the center of the universe. It really isn't, It's like here, in a day, everyone loves the sun when it's dispersed. You'd be fucking incinerated if it got focused, yeah? So here's the mind that's reflecting, sort of like the sun, and then all it reflects, all of its light is on this fake moon called you. The poor fucking thing is gonna be fried. You know what I mean? It's gonna have so many neuroses, and then you'd have to go to a center of the universe psychiatrist. Well, what's your problem? I'm the fucking center of this universe. I'm all I'm thinking about, and I don't feel like I'm that much. What? That's a very contradicting term. I mean, that's unbearable. You feel like you're not much, but it's all that you think about. Does that make any sense whatsoever? How is there any flow in that? You know what I mean? It's something like you're a piece of shit, but you're dwelling on it all day. How could that work out? You know what I mean? So what would you like to do? Consciousness is like your biggest enemy. We're striving to be unconscious as much as possible. Smoking, drinking, it's all muffling everything. People are just trying to muffle. It's just unbearable being awake. That's incredible. Our own nature becomes unbearable to our false nature. Yeah? The last thing it wants to do is be conscious. If I look at all the opiates that are being taken, all the sleeping aids, everyone's fucking loaded in some respects, especially where I live. I don't do it, but I used to, go into bathrooms and open up the fucking, the bathroom, whatever, it's fucking the array of pharmaceutical shit for every possible bump in the road you could have during a day. You know what I mean? I got the Valium, I got the Oxycontin, I got the sleep one, but there's tons of them. I got the people taking, what's it called? Manic depressive stuff. They're taking antidepressants. They're not even depressed. I mean, the slightest little disruption is caused. Let's fucking change how I feel. It's not the feeling you're trying to change, it's the I. You can't entertain being free from it because you're identified as it. That's what's stocking the kitchen, the bathroom counter, or whatever that's called. That's what's stocking it all. That's what's having these guys drive Bentleys around all day. They're just writing scripts fucking all day. Diagnosing, giving name to and form to an activity and making it a thing. Giving it a fucking name of a noun, and now you're gonna be depressed for a long, long time. What do you think noun is? It's just an extension in time. We think we've been here a pretty damn long time. We've been the longest thing in our own lives, seemingly. Had a lot of friends come and go and ailments come. This is all the trick of the mental state. It proves its reality by extension in time. And how does something extend in time? An activity is given name and form. You call it Paul. So if you see what you're not and you have the ability to, it's nothing you have to work on. You're awake, If that awakeness wasn't being given over to that which is asleep and then promoting asleepness as the highest goal, if that awakeness could possibly question that which you take yourself to be, you may start entertaining the idea, hey, what the hell? That bug ate me. It's like the tumor story, The person only lives with the tumor because it believes that it can't get rid of it. It thinks it's him, But while living as it, when he finally hears the message, it's like the tumor. You never heard that one? The big tumor's sticking out, and the guy's, all right, I gotta fit myself around this circumstance, It never comes up with the idea it could be removed. He just assumes it's him. So he's got to get his shirts tailored and his jacket, very expensive Italian leather jacket tailored. And he's on those internet sites looking for a very small niche on Match.com, women with tumors. And they have to have it on the exact right side to match his tumor. So they got to be on the woman's left, and because his is on the right. And he's got it on long trips. It's great. He uses it as a arm rest. So suddenly he hears the message, hey bro, you can have that removed. You would think you would rush right for the answer, but his mental state is tons of investment in it. I spent tons of money with that tailor I'm not fucking giving up these shirts. My relationship may get broken up. I gotta keep the tumor on. This is what happens. We take that which is invaluable and we embrace it, and then when there's relief available, when relief is offered, we see it as a threat because of where we're looking at it from. We see it as sacrifice and loss. I'm not going to be me. Has it been that great to be you? Yeah. Really? I mean, if you really look at it, it hasn't really been that great. Has anything ever put you over the top? Did you have one experience that ended all drive for any more experiences? Have you ever had it? Have you ever had the peak experience that laid to rest all drive to have experience? Have you ever? I don't think anyone would say here. Have you had that one meal that you've never eaten afterwards? That one shot of cocaine that you just said, thank you, Miss Coke, you know. I'm just going to give all my Coke to anyone else because I hope they arrive where I am now. I am stabilized. I'm Coke satiated. It's wonderful. I hope this was going to happen and it's finally come to pass. Never. It's never like that. Is it? Actually, it's worse. When you get everything you want, it's more empty. Fuck, because it's nice to believe that something could really fill up something that's empty. It can't. How are you going to ever get your thirst quenched by imaginary water? Really, we have enough fucking evidence already. It's just that we're hoping. Even with spirituality, and I hate that word, spirituality, because it sounds like a topic we enter to acquire some fucking thing. The worst thing you can do is acquire knowledge. Worst fucking thing, unless the knowledge leads to the point that you don't need any knowledge. You know, it's just like mindfulness. That blows my mind out. Why would the mind have to be more minding? It's minding pretty fucking well already. Why do you want to, I'm going to go and practice mindfulness. Aren't you minding all day? I just don't see it. Why not? Why is it that the invitation of something, it's not a thing, the sense of onness that allows all this to seemingly trigger, why isn't that a big topic? You know, I said, why, I'm just amazed how uneventful, how thought-free, how effort-free it is. It's never fucking exerting whatsoever. And yet it's the basis. It's like Atlas holding up the whole imaginary world. But without that strainful, like he had to take a shit look, you know? It's just totally, just fucking juggling worlds. It doesn't matter. Because there's no doing involved in it. It's just its own nature, naturing. Yeah? And we're so off that we actually see that as something to use to find it. Just like Hawaiian Po tried to save us a lot of time. You can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. You can't use consciousness to seek consciousness. You are conscious. Yeah? You are that which you'd like to find. Can you imagine if you had a lover and it appeared 5 different ways at every second of every day while you're vertical and awake? I mean, to me, that would be love, wouldn't it? Seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. With no effort or thought, ever. Why not stay there a while? See what that, rest in nothing, yeah, and see what that delivers. Don't be so don't be so hasty and running off. Rest with nothing. Get a nice fare of nothing for quite a while, and I'm telling you, it'll be everything to you. Yeah. It produces in and of its own nature an immunity to that which we're not. That which we're not is never going to get immune to that which it's not. It's the engine of it all. Yeah? No matter how many railroad cars it gets rid of, it's the engine. It's what's moving them all anyway. Self can't get out of self. You can't, this sense right now, you can't say, this sense I had 20 years ago. Basically, this had you. This sense has had you. And then we want to emphasize the you and now start looking at our mother and father and decide if we want some of it or not. I need to work on my consciousness. I'm not as conscious as I thought I would be now. I think I became less conscious because I stopped practicing. If I would practice, I'd be more conscious. Yeah, more conscious as what you're not. You'd be super conscious of what you're not all fucking day. The dispersed light will now be focused on you. It's awesome news, man. For me, it's the last answer. As of right now, it's been the last answer for so many fucking times and years. And the beautiful thing, this answer just negates any interest in any fucking other answer. Really does. It's like an expose on answers. It shows the fallacy of all answers that need vigilance, that need being re-upped, that constantly have to be observed and fostered and enthused about. It has nothing to do with that. Yeah. This answer negates all the other answers. This is because the other answers are about, therefore, you that you're not. This answer is the answer of being what you are. It finally puts the story to rest, yeah? Being is totally different than doing and having. Being is something that's not acquired and therefore cannot be lost. You're not going to lose being because you did or didn't do something. Being precedes doing. Yes? It's the context of it all. Doing is not going to exile you from being. Thinking is not going to exile you from being. All of it's included in being. It's always available, just like when you walked in the dry dock, exact same. Years go by, it's exact same entrance right where you are at all times with no requirement necessary to meet it. Constantly. Been that way forever. We just don't think so. We want to take a conceptual raft and go and swim or go paddle over to the conceptual shore, yet the only shore and raft we're ever going to have, we're already on. It's on the shore that we're on. We don't need to take any journeys. What would be taking the journey would be the farther shore, looking for the farther shore. When you arrive there, you'd be there. It's gorgeous to me, gorgeous. Man, it's unbelievable when you put shit down because you realize there was no one that ever picked it up. Yeah, it's a story that ends other stories. It doesn't promote another. It's not like a movie which the ending always, insinuates there's a sequel coming. No, it's you're not that, and that's that. Yeah. And no matter what condition you think you're in now, if something dawns on you, which is inevitable because it's going to erase this whole story that you were missing or somehow fucking things up. You don't have the juice to make anything so. It can only appear to be so to what you're not. It's the only thing. It can only make up stories. It cannot create facts. The fact is, being is supreme. Yeah. And I don't see any other door other than its demonstration right where you seem to be. Seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. Those are 5 fingers of the fucking divine hand that's connected to the divine body, connected to everything as nothing and empty. Yes? Pull a little one here. Does it look like a thing? Does a thing come out? There's a thing coming out of my ears now. Does a thing come out? When I touch something, does a thing come out? But there's no thing. That's our nature. We're not something that can be seen, felt, tasted, touched, or smelled. We're that which is seeing, tasting, touching, smelling, and feeling everything else. But we cannot, those activities cannot apply to us. We're untouchable. We're not an experience. We are not an experience.